another episode of the Extra Point podcast with Darren, Fletcher and me, Vernon K. Well, Darren, crikey O'Reilly. I tell you what, we ruffled some feathers last week on the podcast in a positive way, I think. I think we raised a few points that were very, very valid. I think we've raised a few points within the British American football community that raised an eyebrow and allowed people to ask questions. We will answer some of those questions, but what we're going to do is we're going to put them together. We'll answer them next week because we've got official word from the NFL office who also want to get involved, which I think is fair. If we're going to say something, then let's start a conversation. So we'll see how that goes. Darren, this week's a big game in London. It's the Rams versus the Jags. And for once, perfectly appropriate, the Jags have a decent team with a decent record coming into London. And they're playing the Rams, who are a decent team with a decent record. And you think, along with our dear friend, Ali McCoy, the Rams can go all the way.
Yeah. Just before we kind of get onto that, just to pick up on your point.
Here we go, everyone. Strap in.
I think that vehicles like this are great for starting a conversation. And I've always been a big advocate that everybody's opinion matters. How you articulate that opinion is going to dictate whether people will listen to it or whether they'll discard it. And I think what we did last week was we raised some concerns, and we raised the concerns based on a long association with the sport as fans mainly. Yeah, look, we get the privilege to cover the sport as well. And we try and do that to the best of our ability. But it gives you layers to your opinion, good and bad, on both sides, because you get to peek behind the curtain a little bit more than other people. So all I would say is that whatever we said last week comes from the right place. It comes because we care about the sport. It's why we sit here and do this on a Friday. You know, there would be no need otherwise. And if it does start a conversation that makes it better for everybody and provides even greater stability for the sport in the UK and safeguards multiple London games, tweaks one or two ideas, maybe, then that's great. But regardless of whether it does or whether it doesn't, I'll continue to support the NFL and love the sport and spend all Sunday nights like everybody else does away from the family watching it, playing fantasy football and
getting a rollicking off the missus because you're not there.
Listen, we'll do that, and I know that you will as well. So, you know, this is not a referendum on drawing lines in the sand. This is a conversation that's been started and now will continue. Listen, I want to move it on though, because what's been said to me today was kind of blew me away, and I had put it this way: about an hour ago, you know the kettle that whistles when it's on the thing. That my ears were like that. I had steam coming out of every orifice. I was a hot guy earlier on this afternoon. So
I love it.
Next week is probably a better time.
Yeah,
and we'll kind of do it there.
All right, nice. Yeah, it's good. And I'll tell you what though, Fletch.
Yeah.
Right. It's good that we started that.
Yeah.
It's good that we started that conversation because we've had a reaction from everyone. From fans, from people within the American football community, on the broadcast side of things, print, radio, television. We've had people from the NFL office get in touch and talk to us. So what we've done is we've started a conversation, which is fabulous, which is what having an opinion is all about.
Yeah.
And the things that have been said, we will tidy up and we'll clean up next week. That's it for this episode.
What we are hoping, and we both hope this, that when the London games are finished and everybody's got time to draw breath, because this is a really busy time for anybody associated with the NFL in the UK. I'm pretty confident that we will get senior representation from the international series people who will come and discuss our points with us on here so that everybody can hear it. And that is the way it should be. So I'm hopeful that that'll be the case. You might need to do it, but I'm hoping that we'll get that put together when the London series is finished. And by the way, Vern, I wish you well with that. So that'll be great.
Darren. Thanks.
That'll be great. Yeah.
I've made a list of questions already. You're all
I'll
right.
I'll be doing the Champions League that week.
All right. Can I just say to everyone listening, all right, because I've experienced the steam coming out of Darren's ears several times. Not that often, but a couple of times I've seen the steam, and it's mainly when people jump into the queue in a fast food restaurant that gets his back right up.
The last time I was really angry was when I went to the NFL shop at the Super Bowl at 1 o'clock and found out it didn't open until 5. I was devastated. I was really excited. I got a list of stuff I was going to get. I had to wait 4 hours before I could get in. The game this week, look, and I know I'm not. This is a London game that I'm really looking forward to because I think it's a really good game. The Jags are better than they have been. Liam Cohen's doing a great job with them, and they're in a division. Obviously, with the Colts, who are looking great, but it is a winnable division for them based on what we've seen so far. And I think the Rams, I think everybody in the NFC is fallible. I think you can see issues with all of them. Offensively, Philadelphia aren't right. Washington haven't been quite as sparky. They're missing Terry McLaurin. The big plays that we saw last season from Jaden Daniels haven't been there yet. San Francisco have got a load of injuries. Seattle are a better team than we thought. Detroit looked good, but ultimately without Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, is there an issue anywhere for them when it really matters? And I look at the Rams and I can see issues with them, but I can see a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. And I think if you think back to the playoffs last year, they ended up playing Philadelphia in the snow. I think if they'd have played that game in Los Angeles, they'd have won it. And I think, they've added pieces over the course of the close season. There's another weapon for Matt Stafford to throw to now, as well as Puka Nacua. So I think they're a really good team. I don't think they're an explosive team, and I don't think they've got an elite defense, but I think they've got enough on both sides to be there. I think they're the best team in that division, and I think they've got a real chance to get to an NFC championship game and then potentially a Super Bowl. So I think, it's the chance to see one of the best teams in the league this weekend in London.
Let me ask you about the main protagonist, right? Let's talk about, just briefly, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Their season at the moment, it spluttered. Okay, it spluttered. The start was awkward. They weren't clicking. But now they've got a couple of decent wins under their belt, Darren. From what you've seen, are the Kansas City Chiefs going to put a run together? And I'm not talking Super Bowl, but are they within their rights to say we are playoff bound?
Well, I think if we would have had this conversation 2 weeks ago, we would have been concerned.
Yeah, that's why I ask.
Yeah, they do the power rankings each week in the US. And I think pretty universally this week, Kansas City, despite being 3-3, are everybody's number one team in the power rankings. They get Rashee Rice back this week. Xavier Worthy's now fit. Excuse me. Spagnuolo's defense is always better come playoff time. It's not been quite as good as it was. But whenever you start to give Patrick Mahomes more weapons, then everybody else needs to look out. So I think they are. And when you look at some of the teams in the AFC, Buffalo have lost a couple of games. The teams that we thought, Baltimore have really struggled and haven't got Lamar Jackson. All of a sudden Indianapolis are looking like a really good AFC team. But the one that you know you can rely on, the one team in there that you think, well, they could win 9 games in a row, it's Kansas City, it's Pat Mahomes, it's Andy Reid, it's the experience. It's coming up with big plays when it matters. So I think so. And our mutual friend, Internet Rich, said to me before the weekend, before they beat Detroit, he had a bet on them to win the Super Bowl. I think they were 14-1 at that stage. They beat Detroit, and they beat Detroit well. And now they're into 7s. And now everybody over there is going, here we go, the Chiefs are back. So I think so. I think they are. They weren't my Super Bowl pick from the AFC. I went for Buffalo, and I might stick with that. But yeah, I think they are. Do you?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I think they're nailed on because it's that psychological effect as well as what they do on the field that has an effect. If you're going to go out and play in Kansas City, you know who you're up against. You're up against a quirky offense. Patrick Mahomes on that offense, they love to run plays that you've never seen on film before. And I think that's quite unique for an NFL office to say, oh, hang on a minute, what about this? Because then what you do, you ask questions of the defense. Because when you see that formation again, are they or are they not going to run that cheeky little play that just gets you, bang, 8 yards, which is a guaranteed first down for the rest of the series, for the rest of the drive. So I think you've got that to compete with. I think the superstars really shine. I think Patrick Mahomes, during those games where they lost, those 3 games that they've lost, if you watch him on the sidelines, he's become a surefire, nailed-on leader. I think he's really matured as a quarterback, and I think he's really matured as a presence on that sideline. It's almost, and I hate to compare him to the GOAT, it's almost Brady-esque. When Tom Brady lost his rag on the sidelines, you know that shit was going to go down.
Yeah.
You know that the offensive line, for starters, was going to get it done. And I think Patrick Mahomes has now becoming that player on the Chiefs.
I think a big thing, though, when you get into the playoffs, is home field advantage is big. Kansas City have always been great at playing the big games at Arrowhead, and it's difficult. It's a difficult stadium to go into. It's very naturally noisy. So, some stadiums are acoustically generating noise, but this place is just naturally noisy. And
it's in the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, and by the time you get to January, it's cold as well. So all the things are in their favour. So home field has been great. One of the issues they might have, I mean, Denver are 4-2 in their division. The Chargers are 4-2. Chiefs are 3-3. But I'm looking at the games they've got to come. This week, home against the Raiders. The week after, home against the Commanders. So you'd expect them to win both of those. But then they've got a really tough run. They go to Buffalo, they go to Denver, and then they host Indianapolis. So I think that little 3-game sequence there is where we will know categorically whether they are the best team in the NFL again. To go to Denver and go to Buffalo in successive weeks is difficult for any team. After that, they've got the Cowboys on the road, they've got the Texans at home, the Chargers at home, the Titans on the road, the Broncos at home, and then the Raiders on the road to complete the season. So there's enough wins there to win the division. Whether there's enough wins there to get home field advantage, I don't know. But I think if they went through that sequence 3-0 against Buffalo, Denver, and the Colts, then I think they would be really strong favourites, certainly in the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk
what was interesting this week, just away from Kansas City. When you start to look at, you see franchises on the rise, and you start to look at kind of a statement win for a team to see whether they're starting to get from one level to the other. I thought the fact Chicago went into Washington on Monday night and got the win, because I obviously I'm a Bears fan, so that's fine. And anybody who's in the Bears community has been saying it this week. The games that Chicago are winning at the moment are always the games Chicago find a way to lose. But now, bizarrely, they've got that little X factor at the end of the game. They're finding a way to get the drive and get the field goal and get the win, and things are starting to change. And they're un-Bears-like at the moment. I mean, I don't know whether you can be Bearsy like you can be Spursy, but they were certainly Bearsy for a while. They're going to pinch that one. But now they're winning, and Caleb's still not the finished article by any stretch, but he's a lot more consistent this year than he was last year. And they're protecting him so much better this year. Those 3 free agents on the offensive line, Jonah Jackson, Drew Dolman, Joe Tooney, have been huge. The interior of the Bears' offensive line means that he's not getting killed every week. They open massive running lanes for DeAndre Swift, who started to look like Jahmyr Gibbs in Washington. And Swift isn't that good, but he looked that good. You're starting to see the gadgetry. You're starting to see the imagination of Ben Johnson in the game plan now as well, which is big. And it's taken a while, and of course it's going to take a while. But now, I think you can start to see Chicago on the move. And if you think about the games they've had this season, they've won the last 3, and they've beaten teams, 2 of the teams you think they should beat. Dallas, with no CeeDee Lamb, got injured during the game, and the Raiders, who are poor. they go on the road and beat Washington. Week 1, they played Minnesota, and how they lost that game, I'll never know. So in reality, Chicago should have one loss, but they completely blew it against Minnesota. They were completely overmatched by Detroit the week after. But I think you can start to see now that is a franchise on the move. And I think that we've got a lot of Bears fans in the UK. And I think they've had a couple of events, haven't they, this week? I saw Will Perry hosting one of them in his Bears top in a bar in London, which is great. There's a lot of Bears fans in the UK, and I just get the sense we might be turning the corner. It might be the good times might be rolling in. Might be time to get the Ditka polo top out, the old sleeveless.
What do you mean get it out? It's always out in our house.
But you never know. You never know. I don't think he's ever going to be 85 again, but you never know.
Hey, you never know. It gives us a glimmer of hope, Darren.
Yes.
Maybe I'll be stood on the platform of the station every morning in my Bears jacket with pride instead of people looking at me thinking, why are you wearing that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Hey, what I've got, though? I've got some concern about certain teams. I mentioned it a little bit with Neil, but it's not really got right. Rich again, I'm quoting Internet Rich, because Internet Rich seems to think that Baltimore are going to come with this surge. And they're going to win a load of games and they're going to get to the playoffs and they're going to be all right. And I'm like saying, but they stink at the moment. They've got no Lamar, but they weren't great with him. You're a big Harbaugh fan, aren't you? You like him.
I like, over the years, I like the defenses. I like the defenses that he's constructed. And this year it's dreadful. It's dreadful. They've managed to, over the decades, and it is decades, they've managed to slow down offenses over the years. They've managed to make the offenses really think. And this year, it just looks like a really old, rusty sieve. There's leaks everywhere, and they're getting battered. And it just goes to show you, Darren, like, Lamar Jackson, when he came in, young, up for it. And we've always said on this podcast, or whatever form of a podcast you and I have been doing, when you start playing like Robert Griffin III and running out of the pocket, you are 100% guaranteed you're gonna get injured. You're gonna get hurt. And I think that is the benchmark for me. And I'll take one thing back, because I said the same thing about Baker Mayfield after watching him in college. I'm like, this kid's not going to survive. But I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, because Baker Mayfield is absolutely, so far, the stud of this season.
Yeah.
The quarterback of, and I'm loving saying this, the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is having a worldie of a season so far. And if you watch him, what he's doing, it's almost, and I know Scatterboo is a rookie, they've got the same mental attitude, as in, we're going to play hard, we're going to get stuck in, we're going to ball out, we're not going to hold anything back. They are playing 100% each down. And you watch Baker Mayfield, everyone is behind him. Everyone is behind that quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a joy to watch, Darren. And wait till the receivers come back.
Yeah, answer me this then, right? So I think he's the favourite right now to be NFL MVP. I don't think he'll win it, because I think if Mahomes gets Kansas City on a roll and they win out from here, he'd probably get it because his numbers would be astronomical. Who's doing the better job as a quarterback this season? Baker Mayfield or your mate Daniel Jones?
Great question. That is a great question. That is a brilliant question, and I'm going to think about the answer.
Let me say this while you're thinking then.
All right, go on.
While you give me the thinking time. I think that those two players are the perfect illustration that the assessment process of young quarterbacks has to change. So Baker Mayfield was completely written off as a bust. First overall pick in the draft with Cleveland. Looked like he was never going to be a serviceable starter. This year he could be the MVP. Daniel Jones, top 10 pick, up and down with the Giants. Spent a bit of time with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Looks an entirely different player. Sam Darnold. I think when they took Sam Darnold, the Jets, he was the third overall pick that year. Bounced around. He spent a bit of time with Kyle Shanahan. Then he spent a bit of time with Kevin O'Connell. And now he's doing what he's doing with Seattle. I think we're a little bit too knee-jerk on quarterbacks. Write them off, because we're starting to see high picks take 4, 5, 6, 7 years to mature, and then all of a sudden they look completely different. So the talent's never lost them. It's just been a slower process for them. And there's 3 there, isn't there? Darnold, Jones, and Mayfield, who are all written off as busts. And all of them now are franchise quarterbacks for their team and vital to what their team's doing. So I'm going to ask you again, who's doing the better job? Daniel Jones or Baker Mayfield?
Well, I'm going to say this, bearing in mind that Baker's been there quite a while now in Tampa Bay. So I'm going to say for Daniel Jones to move into a new offense in a new city, new surroundings, settle in, learn the offense, because we all know how important that is, and become more comfortable under centre than we've ever seen him. You can tell he's walking on the field with his shoulders held high. At the Jets, the last two years of his career there, he was miserable. Absolutely miserable. And I would give that accolade, Darren, because of that and the way that he's established himself there with the Colts. Would give him that accolade. I think for him to step into the Colts, absolutely awesome. It's so good. I messaged his dad.
I know. I was going to say this, that you are on texting terms.
With his dad, with Stephen Jones Sr. Right, just let me find it. And I'm not going to talk out of place because it was a private conversation. But let me just find this message. It was really, really sweet. Here we go. So I messaged him and I said, "Good morning, sir. Vernon K. from England. Just saying how disappointed I was with the Giants situation and your Daniel. But it seems like your boy has found his place. What a fantastic start to the season. Please pass on my regards. Long may this continue. Vernon." Vernon, great to hear from you. What a welcoming surprise this morning. Blah, 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 blah. Something about the Giants. This is a far better situation with the Colts. Look forward to seeing you soon. Maybe next year we'll be in London. And if you want to come over, you're more than welcome. I mean, that just says it all.
Lovely.
A much better situation.
Yes. Exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, when you think about the problems Philadelphia have on offense now, Shane Steichen, who was the architect of the offense, is the head coach there and seems to fit Daniel Jones and that team really well. He seems like I think certain coordinators now need a certain type of quarterback to play their system. I don't think it's a case now of he's an offensive coordinator, so his mind's great, so he's going to work with anyone. I think certain coordinators need certain quarterbacks and certain quarterbacks need certain coordinators. I think when you get that marriage right, then they can flourish. I mean, Jared Goff is a better quarterback in Detroit under Ben Johnson as it was than he was under McVay. And McVay's regarded as the guru, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, it kind of... Cliff Kingsbury was a bit of a flame out as a head coach in Arizona, but Jaden Daniels seems to love him in Washington. So I think when you get that combination right, I tell you another young quarterback who's doing great, and I think we've got to say they're back. Drake May and the New England Patriots. That's not a deep roster by any stretch. I mean, if you look at the wide receivers he's throwing to, outside of Stephon Diggs, they're not passing many identity parades. And they've got a new coach who's defensively minded. But Drake May, they talk about Daniels last year, Caleb's been good. May's the third one from that class that looks like he's going to be a franchise quarterback in New England. And they could win that division. If Buffalo keep wobbling like they are, I think that they're top of the division now, aren't they? Same record as Buffalo. I think they're top. But they look good. He's making plays. He's using his legs. He's got a good arm. I mean, he looks good.
But you're right. Verbal's a defensive guy.
Yes.
And I here's a question for you. As a fan of a team, would you rather have a head coach who was offensively minded or defensively minded?
Well. As a long-suffering Chicago Bears fan, after Matt Eberflus, who was supposed to be defensively minded, but I'm not sure that he actually was, I was delighted when Ben Johnson came in. And I think the important thing is if you're going to have a defensively minded head coach, you've got to have an absolute whiz of an offensive coordinator. But of course, the issue there is he's only going to be with you for a year before he becomes a head coach the year after. I mean, Dan Campbell, if you think about it, he is an offensively minded coach because he was a tight end. But he's an old school motivator and he needs his coordinators to be top notch. And he had Aaron Glenn on defense, who's gone on to be head coach in New York, and he's got Ben Johnson on offense, who's now the head man in Chicago. So he got good coordinators. Bill Belichick, defensively minded, but he got Josh McDaniels, who was perfect. So he just turned the offense over to him. But as a Bears fan, if you've got a young QB, which Chicago have in Caleb Williams, I think you've got to have the best offensive-minded head coach that you can possibly have. And I know Vrabel goes against the grain, as you just said. And so does Jen Daniels, because he's got Dan Quinn. So that disputes my theory. But I think overall, the young ones have got they've got a better chance to hit if you're in an offensive room with an offensive-minded head coach who knows exactly what you're going through. I just think you've got more chance of making it work if that's the case. I think if you've got a defensive guy, the other man has got to be the boy. But then the problem is, you see, if your head coach is a defensive-minded head coach and you've got an offensive coordinator whiz kid, he's going to go be a head coach the year after, and then the system changes again. And it's not just that the man that's leaving, it's the system. Every offensive coordinator comes in with a new system. Every offensive-minded head coach has his own system. So from a Chicago standpoint now, if Ben Johnson's the Bears head coach for a decade, which they hope he is, Caleb Williams will play in the same offensive system for a decade. And this is what's been great for Patrick Mahomes. He's only ever known Andy Reid. So he knows Andy Reid's system inside out. Andy Reid,
Brady only knew one head coach.
Exactly. Now, then the quarterback knows the system better than the coach. So then you're completely at one. There's no circumstance that you can't flip to. So I think if you've got an offense, McVay, if you're the Rams quarterback, if you're Stafford, you know exactly what McVay's going to do.
Yeah.
You know exactly. And I think that in a game, all professional sport now is fine margins. But the NFL, I think, is even finer because the plays last for so short a period of time that the fine margins are more important than they are in the grand scheme of things in, say, a Premier League game.
Yeah.
So the fine margin in one NFL play on offense can be the difference between a touchdown or an interception because the margins are so fine. So if you are absolutely in lockstep with your play caller, I just think it gives you more of a chance to be successful. So I like the idea of a strong offensive-minded head coach. And just kind of look at some of the ones who've come in this year, the new ones. You know, Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, goes in and sorts out Jacksonville pretty quickly. Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, etc. Travis Etienne's back to being Travis Etienne. Which head coach has had the biggest problem? Aaron Glenn. Can't get the quarterback play from Justin Fields. They're losing games hand over fist. Sean Payton went into Denver. Didn't get the best quarterback in the draft, but he got Bo Nix, and now they're 4-2. And Sean Payton, who was in lockstep with Drew Brees for all those years, wasn't he, in New Orleans? I just think if you've got a chance to stick points on the board, points are king in the NFL now.
Yeah.
The rules have changed.
Yeah, they really have.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback. Is this the season where we're going to see him flourish? Is this the season where we're going to see Clemson Trevor Lawrence being Trevor Lawrence?
I don't know we're ever going to see Clemson Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's ever going to be what he was supposed to be. And that's probably because the expectations were so high when he came out. He was supposed to be Peyton Manning, Tom Brady rolled into one. They said similar things about Caleb Williams. He'll be Patrick Mahomes when he comes out. Well, he's not. So then people think he's not as good as we thought he was going to be. Well, he probably is, but you said he was going to be Pat Mahomes. You said the other fellow was going to be Peyton Manning. It's hard to do that. So you're saying he's coming out of college, he's going to be as good as any quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. It's a long way to fall from there. So he might be really good, but just not quite as good as we thought he was going to be when he came out. Seems to have a good relationship with Liam Cohen. He's got wide receivers. He's got weapons. I think he's a good. By the way, he's not going anywhere because of the contract he's got. So he's going to be there. They've got to make it work. When they've paid him, so they've got to make it work. The worry for me about Jacksonville as a franchise, Vernon, is I think they're always going to be up and down. I just think that's what they are. I can't see Jacksonville ever having sustained success. I'm not sure that ownership and the way it's structured means that can happen. There's a lot of empty seats in the stadium when you see, which is why they're in London as much as they are, because they can't sell the seats.
They change the general manager so often.
Yes, so I think, you're going to have a good year and then you're going to have a few bad years and a good year and a few bad years. I think that's what the Jags are going to be. I don't think you're ever going to get that.
I was hoping you and I would get a phone call for general manager.
Do you think? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that?
We'd do it from the swimming pool at the top of the stadium.
How many years do you think it'd take us to win our first game, based on the bad decisions that we've taken, the mad trades that we've done?
That is a brilliant question.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant question.
Yeah,
you could flip it because we asked for your voice, we asked for your opinion, we asked you to slide into the DMs on the Extra Point Podcast Instagram pages. Here's a great question. How long would it take you as a head coach of an NFL team to win a game?
If I was a head coach, right, I would...
What's a question?
Bert, I would never win one. Never. Do you know why? For a start, I couldn't stay awake for that long. I mean, they sleep for about 4 hours. I've got no chance. I'd be in the back of my own meeting asleep. So they're absolute workaholics, aren't they? There's no
you've got
way
to be.
Work that hard.
There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. There's so much knowledge and information to process before you give it to the players. Like you've got kids in the back room just breaking down film, constantly breaking down film to show the offense, the defense, the DBs, the linebackers, the offensive line, the defensive line, the running backs, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, the wide receivers, the special teams, the kicker, the punter. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Tell you what I will say, right? I don't mind sitting on here and saying that I'm a bit fed up with seeing the Cleveland Browns and the Jets in London. But I'm not walking up to the all-pro defensive tackle and saying, listen, mate, you've got to do better than you are. Levels.
I've got some film for you, sunshine.
Listen, I'll take a call from certain people, but then there's certain people I'm thinking, I'm keeping out of the way there. But if you think I'm going to waltz up to Chris Jones and people, I say, listen, mate, we need more from you. And he just looks down at me. And I'm, you know what, Chris? Everything's fine. Don't you worry. I don't know about that.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah, it is.
Let us know what you think in the DMs of our Instagram pages. Go on.
Tell you what I would do. I'd make mad trades.
Would you?
I would make mad. Yeah, I would. I think if I was a Premier League manager, or I'd be buying and selling players. The players I liked. There'd be no reason I like him, so I'm going to have him. You know, there's so much that goes into it. I drive my GM mad. I'd be saying, he looks good. He's got a good name. Get him
as a head coach. I'd be a defensive head coach. I'd be like, right, cornerback blitz. Safeties, just get over the top. You cover the cornerback, off you go. Inside linebacker, off you go.
You see, you've identified what you'd be. I would be a delegator. That'd be it. You do it. You do it. I'd sit them all down day one and say, listen, this is not about me. This is about you guys showing me what you can do. I'm going to empower all here. I'm going to sit in the office and get a bit more sleep.
I would play defense like Madden. There'd always be a blitz on. There would. In this league, you've got to put pressure on the quarterback. Here's some good numbers for you, Darren, about the Jags. Right, this is a pickup from last week. Believe it or not, the Jacksonville Jaguars played their first London game in October 2013.
Right.
2013. They played the San Francisco 49ers at Wembley Stadium as part of the NFL International Series. The 49ers won that game 42-10.
Have you got the statistics that tell you in which years of all those years they've been good? Because I tell you what, right? I tell you what. And wait. Last week, I tell you what I did do last week. I launched a staunch defence of our fans over here.
Yeah, you did.
Because they've been brilliant. I would reiterate, they've been superb. Our fans are the best. The money they spend and the support they give the game, brilliant. They have supported that franchise unbelievably well.
Yeah.
But the British fan, because we've all got our own teams. So you've not become a Jacksonville fan and left your own team behind. If you're a Bears fan, you're still a Bears fan, or a Commanders fan, or whatever you are, Cowboys fan. You still love that team. But a little small part here has a soft spot for Jacksonville. And the guys go and support them. So
British fans have embraced the Jags.
Yeah.
They really have. And I think we should be doing more with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We should really, really be doing more. But anyway, by the by, this is a good one. The Jags first played 2 games in London in the 2023 NFL season. October 2023, they played the Falcons and they won 23-7.
Right.
October the 8th, same year, 2023, they took on the Bills at Spurs and they won 25-20.
Okay.
So maybe
that's one of the up years.
Yeah, one of the up years. So hopefully, I mean, this is going to be a really big game. Yeah. A defining game, some might say. The Jags have been here all week. The Rams arrive Saturday afternoon, I think it is.
Yeah, well, and also, it's just come up on my phone. Puka Nacua ruled out for Sunday with a sprained ankle. So that's big for Jacksonville, the fact that he's not going to be a player they've got to think about. Because I think is he the leading receiver in the NFL so far this season, Nacua, in terms of yards? I think he is. I'm sure I saw something the other week. I mean, I'm not diving into the stats like I used to, but I'm pretty sure. In fact, I'll check it while I'm on. Sure, Nacua is the leading receiver. No, he's not. Third, yards. He was before last weekend. Nacua, 616 yards. He's 80 behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. So there's Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's Jamar Chase, who's played the extra game because they played last night. And then there's Puka Nacua. So he's one of
That's
3
good news
men
for me because I've got Devontae Adams
in
my fantasy, so it's good news for me.
You've got him, have you?
Yeah.
You didn't mention the fancy the other week when I put 140 points on you. That seemed to slip by.
I didn't want to mention that, Darren, but so far I've got 2 winning records.
No, I haven't. I've not 3-3 in one, and I think I'm 2-4 in the other.
Yeah, let me have a look here what we got. Yeah. I am 4-2 in one, and I think I'm 4-2 in the other.
Yeah, you see, you're doing better than me. One of your losses is to me though, which I've taken great satisfaction over.
I know it's the one bump in the road I can't get over, season upon season. Even if you were like 0-9, I would still lose to Fletch.
Yeah,
I would be the one victory.
Hey, last one before we go. Right, one of the games I really enjoy every year, regardless of record, is Washington against Dallas.
Yeah,
because back in the 80s when I got into it, that was maybe the biggest rivalry then. I mean, now we talk about some of the newer rivalries that we see, but that was, and that always will be, Packers, Bears, Commanders, Redskins, and Cowboys is always special. And I mean, this year this week you'd think the Commanders will win easy because Dallas aren't very good, but they're always close. Always close, aren't they? Yeah. Or tend to be, not always.
It's a good division, that.
Yeah.
It's a good division, especially now that everyone has got something to say.
Yeah.
Like, the Eagles have had a little bit of a bump in the road and a slip, and people are asking questions, especially when you lose to the Giants, who all of a sudden could be in the mix. Against the Cowboys, which are fallible every year.
Yeah. Yeah. Scatterbo's going to be a hero.
Oh, he's going to have CTE. That's what he's going to have.
Well, but you know what he does? He moves the pile like Mark Bavaro, if you remember. The old tight end. He used to be carrying people into the end zone and stuff, and he's similar.
I love him.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him. The way he's playing the game, I mean, it's just 100 mile an hour each down. It's not occasional, Darren.
No.
It's not like, I'll just give 90%. Every down is 100% and beyond.
Yes.
He's having so much fun. And as fans, that's what you want to see. And they've got a quarterback who's got the best fake tan I think I've ever seen.
Brilliant.
It's unbelievable.
And the quarterback should be called Dart, shouldn't he?
Yes.
He should be throwing darts. He should be.
Yes.
You don't want a quarterback called Wobbly. You want
6 foot massive, wearing chains, looks like a bit of a stud. Do you know what it looks like? They both look like the pair that when they finish a game, they're going to get in an old Chevy. Do you know what I mean? Or a Coupe de Ville with the top down, and they're going to put cowboy hats on, and they're just going to pull up to the bar, throw the keys at the barman or bar person, and go, right, we'll have 2 whiskies on the house. We've just won. Bring it on.
I did think when I saw Jackson Dart, if he ever actually becomes a legitimate NFL superstar, you imagine the damage he's going to do in New York City. He's going to be the man about town, isn't he?
He's going to be
the man.
Hey, you mentioned it last week. Davidoff cool water.
There you go. There you go.
He is Davidoff Cool Water personified.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I mentioned cool water last week, and then I got myself in hot water, so yeah, that one.
Hey, it's all good. Everyone's talking.
Everybody's talking. Yeah.
Listen, we're going to clear that one up next week because lots of people want to come on and have a voice and have an opinion, which is great. We welcome that. We welcome the conversation. It's only us two having an opinion. That's what a podcast is all about, for crying out loud.
And don't forget, it's only a game.
It's only a game. From him, Darren Fletcher, and me, Vernon Kay, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.